So today, I would like to um, explore what if we use the methods and reasoning used today to reconstruct pronunciations of things like Latin, if we applied them to English, say, a few hundred years or something like this. So this is probably going to be a post-scientific world, or there's going to be at least some fairly dominant post-scientific things going on. So the general attitude of researchers at this time is going to be something like looking at historic documentation of things like English and saying, oh well, this thing is that's just scientific superstition. That's not based on anything. Like, that's going to be a common thing. Um, right. So what are we going to use as primary sources? Well, how does everybody learn English as a child in school or through second language programs? So what do we do there? We teach them the alphabet, right? So a future researcher is going to believe that English has an alphabet, which means that the letters represent sounds. Now, this is going to be a very big problem because that's not how English really works. But that is how virtually all of our documentation, all of your primary sources in a few hundred years or so is going to indicate English operates. So this is going to become very strongly believed, but we're also not going to really know what the hell these sounds are. So you're going to have some problems here. It's very reasonable, too, that because English vocabulary is about 70 to 80%, possibly even more depending on the particular field that we're talking about, that we're using English for, is actually French or Latin derived vocabulary. It's entirely reasonable that somebody at this point would look at English and say, "Oh, it's actually an Italic language, or it's related to Latin, and the Germanic aspects are actually just kind of like pushed onto it, absorbed at a later date." And I think personally that this same exact sort of wrong thinking has been applied to some Indo-European languages, and that's why they're counted as Indo-European. So I actually think that this has actually happened, right? Where here now we look at it and say, oh well, but no, English was Germanic, and the the Latin vocabulary, the French or whatever it was that came from Latin, was put onto it. But I think down the road, somebody looking at it isn't going to come to that conclusion because so much of the vocabulary is Latin. They're going to say, "Oh, well, this language is actually derived from Latin, and the Germanic crap was put onto it." And today we'd look at that as wrong, but I think there's a very strong chance that the people who would like fuss over how wrong that is are likely to have made the same mistake with things like Germanic and Slavic. I don't think those are originally Indo-European. Or at least there's a fair chance that they weren't originally Indo-European. And what ended up happening is a whole bunch of Indo-European vocabulary got stuck onto it. Okay, so let's take some basic words, right? Like the English words back and Basque. Okay, so the way that we say this, the letter, that little round letter, the way we say that letter, its name is C, right? So if that's the name of the letter, it makes sense that somebody at some future point looking at English as having an alphabet and having some sense of how the letter names were pronounced will come to the conclusion that that letter C makes a C sound. Right. Now they might put some nuance onto this, realizing that okay, so before I and E, it tends to have a slightly different pronunciation. So maybe that's like C, like S. So your tongue tip is down. So S, versus s, right? So BACK, that word, is they're going to assume very, very plausibly that it would be pronounced Basque. And now you have a problem because what is the S doing? Why would you have two letters that make the same sound? Well, S. S is a sibilant, and it's famous that there's aspects of the S sound which didn't transmit well over telephone or radio. So it has a whistled component, probably. Okay, so BASK is Basque. So this is S. And this is C. And this is CI. CI. C. S. Okay, so now we have established that these sounds are different. What about SH? Well, that would be like sh. Okay, so we have s, sh, right? S and SH. And then CH, well, C says s, and we know that CH is like an affricate, right? It makes, there's like a sort of a T sound before it. So it's going to be like ts. So CH, URCH, is going to be something like Zurz, right? The actual English pronunciation is church, but we're reconstructing it, in the future without knowledge of that. So Zurz, Zurz. And the vowels will all say something, right? U, it should be U, or maybe it should be U. So maybe it should be Zurz, Zurz, Zurz. What is A? The letter A? It says A? Or does it say A? What does it say? I don't know. Let's say it says A. We'll just pick one of them. Okay. So we have cat. That's fine. Except, nope, it's sat. And CAT would be sat, and SAT would be sat. All right. So the material, satin, that's going to be satin, something like that, right? You can clearly see that our pronunciation is going off the rails very quickly here, just with basic words. Something like couch, right? I'm sitting on the couch. The way that you would say something like this now is going to be completely fucking bonkers. So sitting is going to turn into something more like sitting, because there's two T's, so it should be long, right? Sitting, right? Something like that. Sitting. On would be on instead of on, because it's an O, so it says O, on. Sitting on, and then the would be, well, T says t, right? T says t, H just makes it aspirated. So it's, and then E says e, like it does in almost all of the other languages. The letter E says e. Why would it say something different in English? Okay, so the is actually going to be te. Okay, so I'm sitting on te, and then couch is going to be fucking bananas. It's going to be soats. Okay, so we have sitting on te soats for sitting on the couch. And sure, it looks like I'm going extreme with this, but I'm really not. If you know what I'm saying, if you understand what I'm doing here, what I'm saying, these are really not unreasonable. Assuming English has an alphabet, which is what all of our literature claims, and assuming that the letters say something similar to what their name is, which is what the literature says, we just got complete garbage as our reconstruction. And our confidence level for that reconstruction is going to be fairly high, particularly if what we want to do is distance ourselves from historic claims that are associated with belief systems and claims that have been debunked, which a few hundred years from now, that's going to be modern science. Modern science is going to be the thing that is what is looked down upon and refuted and ignored, right? It's like, oof, that's superstitious bullshit. So you're not going to take modern linguistic analysis of English and take it seriously. What you're going to do is you're going to look at pedagogy. You're going to look at what people were actually doing, how people were actually teaching, and you're going to take that material and you're going to derive your analysis from that. And that is going to lead you down some really, really wrong paths there. And I think it's funny that this is exactly what's done with reconstructions of things like Latin. But you get people who are like really confident and just, like in your face arrogant about how their pronunciation of it is correct. Like, you don't know. You don't fucking know. Oh my god, are you serious? You're just making shit up, really. What are you doing? Yeah. Have fun with that.